Ryan, have you ever thought about being an architect?
Have you ever thought about being a truck driver?
Have you ever thought about being a salesperson?
What about something in the medical field?
Realtor? Listen to Career Paths every Thursday
Wherever you listen to podcasts,
and on YouTube. You might learn something.
you might not.
It's your life. Make it happen.
Memories fading, we all forget those not so shiny things you do.
Career Paths. Welcome to Career Paths. I'm your host, Victor Boudreau, with my other trusty steed. Wow.
I don't know where that
It's not going to go well, the second part of. And our guest today for second half, Geof Scott.
It's Jeff. You can call me Jeff. It's all right.
No, I can't.
Most people know him as Geoff, though.
Well,
'Cause, you know, from radio,
yeah.
it's always Geoff, right?
I always think it's my mom calling. Jeffrey, get in here. Jeffrey.
What's your middle name, Jeff?
Oh, that's a good question. Nobody's ever asked me that one before.
No, Jeff. Now
And I've never admitted it. All right, I'm a Russell.
That's not bad.
Russ.
Yeah, that's did she ever use the middle name on you, Mom? Did she?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's one of those. You gotta have the da. Get in here. You gotta have the double syllables.
Remember those well.
Yeah, Ryan has
Yeah.
though. She still does at times. From his
So-
mom's wife.
Anyway,
So
just like yeah.
last time we talked, which was like a week ago. Forget where we were at. Besides, we're talking everything with you, and you are a media guy. You're a radio personality. You are in Montana right now. You're originally from Boston. You've done a lot of stuff, a lot of places.
Yeah, 20 years in Spokane radio is quite a little
serious?
bit. Yeah.
Wow.
10 years at Rock 106, then that 94 and a half later on, another
Wow.
10 years.
Jesus.
So I know 20 years in one market is pretty good for anything, but
Yeah,
to have come from another market and to build yourself up from nothing to a major market, and I think that's why we're here tonight.
And what was your first position with Rock 106 when you came here?
Oh boy, Rock 106 in Spokane was my big full-time job. I was very excited. I'd been doing traffic reporting in Boston. When I got back from visiting Rock 106, my new boss had told me, well, they want a bunch of
Boston.
They want a girl in your time slot because you speak to guys all the time. So that's what they said. I'm like, really? And at the same time, Gary Allen was on Rock 106 and he was on the phone going, hey, I like what you're doing over there in Boston. Can you come do that over here? So they gave me a little severance check. It sent me on my way, and down the road I came. And when I got to town, Gary didn't really have a job for me yet. He kind of said, well, just lay low. I'm going to teach you new weekend stuff. Just kind of hang out, see how it's done. But one of the staff members here, she's getting kind of antsy. She's going to be moving on. So you're going to be doing that night show. And I'm like, okay. So, but my first job, finally, about a month and a half later, was when they bought this giant RV boombox, like old school style, like something you'd put on your shoulder and take into the high school.
It's a little bigger than that.
And it's a trailer. They have the
Right.
dials on top and the radio dial across the front, the huge speakers built into it.
Yellow,
and
correct?
where the cassette would go in was actually windows, and that's where we sat and waved at everybody. And they took this thing everywhere, remote broadcast, things like ball games. There's a B League in town, or for the Interstate Fair, which is actually where they first brought it out, was the Spokane Interstate Fair, and it was some special year. I couldn't tell you what year it was, but it was 1989, and they debuted it and said, "This is your home for the next 2 weeks. Get used to the rock and roll boombox." So that's where I camped out, and I did all my breaks from there for the entire run of the Interstate Fair, making elephant ears with the weather chicks and whatever else.
What color was the boombox?
The boombox itself,
Do you remember the color?
it was white with black speakers and blue.
Huh. I remember yellow for some reason. Yeah.
There was some yellow on it also. The dials on the top were yellow. I've got a picture over there somewhere with it. I'm just trying to see it. I don't see it in the shadows.
Okay. Well, let's move forward. Where were we?
Yeah.
We're good. I'm going to look it up while he's.
That was my first job in Spokane, was sitting in the boombox. Next question.
So how many different cities have you worked in?
Good question. Hard to come up with an answer right away. What's your definition of a city? Are we talking major markets or medium markets or small markets?
Yeah, see, he doesn't know the difference.
I would say any.
Just in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah, because I started off in Natick, Mass, but then went to Sudbury for the high school station, Framingham for the college radio station, and then Waltham for the broadcast school, which is also in Boston. And then from there, my first job was in Providence, Rhode Island. And then from Providence, I came up to Lowell, Lawrence. From Lowell, Lawrence to Worcester, Massachusetts. Kind of these jobs were interacting. A lot of them were at the same time. I do weekends at WAAF, traffic reporting in Boston. So from there, I went to Boston. I did full time on Boston. It was right before the Big Dig when they took. There's this place in Boston called the Central Artery, where 93, Route 3, Route 1A, Route 1, they all come together, Route 2, and they run together for about a mile and a half through the middle of the city because of the way it's designed. And so one year they decided to put that underground. It was called the Big Dig. And to do that was going to take about 10 years. So they hired special contractors to come in. They had to shut down traffic in the city, but only during certain times of the day. And this radio station said, we need traffic reporters 24 hours a day. So they hired me to sit up in the Prudential Center and sometimes in helicopters and report traffic 24 hours a day. So my first shift was 7 p.m. until 5 in the morning. And there actually was traffic to report, but not always outside of the city. So sometimes you had construction going on downtown for the Big Dig, but there'd be a car chase going on outside of the city to the west. Or maybe a plane crash down south. There was always something going on. I tried to find out what it was and make that the story, because our reports were 4 times an hour on this station in the middle of the night. You better have something.
Yeah.
So I learned how to talk to State Patrol. I learned how to talk to the DMV. I learned how to talk to the Department of Public Works, the Road Department, to find out what they're working on and what some of the trouble areas were. Anyway, all this information, the radio station I was on, okay, during the day, remember we were talking about how at night AM stations go further in the distance?
Right. With less, wattage.
So this station was a 3-letter AM station, which means it's been there forever. It's on a clear channel. So during the day, it just covers Boston, New England, New Hampshire. But at night, its signal doesn't drop, and they cover 38 states, 3 Canadian provinces, and a small fishing village in Mexico. So with that information, I knew I couldn't just do Boston traffic in the middle of the night. So I started calling other states and asking them, what construction projects are you working on? And what's giving you problems? And then I started talking to motorists, truckers, and finding out where they were having difficulty. And all this became a report. And that report became Road Watch America, which kind of went off on its own. And
You started it?
I started it. Yeah.
Troublemaker.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that you hear in the middle of the night while you're trucking, and it'll be brought to you by Hormel Chili or something, or Papagino's Pizza. I don't know anymore.
Whoever it was.
But that also became the ski report. Remember the Hormel ski report?
I do remember that, even though I was in the skier.
Yeah, and they bought it. So that came originally from the Hormel Studios. We're doing the traffic report. I mean, it's all about the company, the corporation.
Right.
And the parent traffic company was in all the markets around the country. So, all right. Here's the deal. When I first went to broadcast school, the director pulled me aside and said, you show some real potential. We got to work on your accent. I want you to go out there and gain as much experience in as many places as humanly possible. That's what I want you to do. So that's what I set out to do. And I wound up doing Music of Your Life, country radio, a lot of country, 3 different stations. Like I told you before, Spanish hour. We did a news and information hour with Tom Glynn at WLLH. Used to have Governor Dukakis used to call me up all the time. I'd be like, okay, I'll put you on the air again. Hang on.
Wow.
We had a traffic reporter there. That's actually where I started traffic reporting when Bob Ellis, whatever the guy's name was, he wouldn't show up, and they'd say, go sit in the plane. So I'd go get in the airplane and do traffic. And that turned into Worcester doing traffic, and then Boston traffic. Anyway, so I gained as much experience as I possibly could in as many places. And that took me to Spokane, sitting in a giant boombox at the Interstate Fairgrounds on a 90-degree day, making elephant ears. Gotta love this job. Did that answer your question?
I don't remember the question.
We were talking about a lot of stuff in there.
It's all good. That's it. You being a radio guy, you're used to talking to some. We've had guests on here that aren't used to talking, so we have no.
Yeah.
It's all good. We appreciate it. Once again, your stories are part of your life and how and what you do. So that's what the show, that Career Paths is about. So
So you said 10 years, or was it a total of 20
20
years
in
in
Spokane,
Spokane?
out of Spokane.
20 years Spokane Rock Radio.
Mhm.
And then 5 more years down at Z-Rock and Lewiston after that.
So,
Before moving out here to the God's country.
do you have a favorite story of your
Mhm.
time in Spokane working at the station?
Oh,
Besides-
absolutely.
Besides
I've got-
working with me.
Yeah, besides working with tons of stories. Every night was an adventure. I mean, remember when they shut downtown? They were filming Benny and June, and that went on for 2
Yeah.
months or 2 years or 2 months it was, and that was over by my house. There was always something going on, so I try to get the beat off the streets, the pulse. For me, I learned early on that you got to have the listeners. There's no party if you don't have a crowd. So I tried to bring as many people into the station as I could, whether it was in person. If our photographer wanted to show by and show me some pictures, I'd have him come on the show. Um, Whoever. I just was always looking for what's going on. What's the big thing tonight? And one night, I got this call. It was out of the blue, and they said that, hey, you'll never believe this, dude, but I just saw Ozzy fishing off the Division Street Bridge. I'm like, oh, okay. Everybody loves fishing up here in Spokane. It makes sense. Wait a minute. Did you say Ozzy? Dude, what are you smoking, right? So, and then I started getting these other calls in. Yeah, I saw Ozzy too up on Market Street. He was driving with, I'm not sure who that was. And another person called and they said they thought they saw Ozzy down at the boot shop on Division. I kept getting all these weird calls about Ozzy sightings, and I aired them all. And
Of course.
my boss thought that was really funny, the things that people were saying that he was doing.
Right.
And
Ozzy.
as excuse me, and as the calls came in, the adventures became more outrageous. I just saw Ozzy bungee jumping out there at the main attraction, right? It was always something crazy. So I don't know if we turned it into a contest or not, but I took all these different Ozzy sightings. At the end of the week, as I would do, I made a huge montage of all the different Ozzy sightings and then called it a day. Friday Night Flamethrower, there you go. If you see Ozzy, tell him the best fishings out at Lake Coeur d'Alene or whatever it was. And we went home for the weekend. At the time, Belinda, do you remember Belinda Simmons?
I
She
do.
was-
Yep.
She was our music director, but she was also very locally oriented. She spent a lot of time with the local bands, and
Yep,
she
yep.
worked with the music labels because
Yep.
her job was music. So she would work with labels and reps and all that stuff. And she knew a lot of people in the industry. Anyway, she still does all that, but not on record industry, but more of a soda industry level.
Okay.
Anyway, so I think I came back to work the next Monday, and on my desk was this little pink slip. I haven't seen very many of those. And so I was kind of like wondering, what's this? And all it said was, it was just a little piece of paper, and I think Shelley wrote it. And it said, 4:40 p.m., Sharon called. And I'm like, Sharon?
Yeah.
Who the heck is Sharon? So I went about my business and got ready for my show, and I got in there, started doing the night show. And about, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes into it, and then Belinda comes running back into the studio. You'll never believe who's standing out front right now. Freaking Ozzy. Ozzy's standing at the front
No,
door.
I thought he was out fishing.
I know.
Bungee
Like,
jump.
wait a minute.
Jumping.
This can't be true. No.
Yeah, somebody's messing with you, huh?
Well, let him in. So she brought him in. She brought him in. Sharon was with him. And Belinda just happened to have a teapot she was brewing, and her and Sharon sat down and had a spot of tea together.
Wow.
While Ozzy came into the studio and said, "So what's this I hear about people been seeing me around town?" And we went through this whole bag of rumors that I've been cherishing all my life, the Ozzy grab bag of rumors, Things like, did you really trash a player piano in New York City? And he's like, yeah, that was me. Do you really carry a suitcase full of crucifixes? Well, it's not really a suitcase, it's more of a bag, So all these different stories. Did you really bite the head off the bat? Well, yeah, I thought it was plastic. So, and we just did that for an hour and a half, and he stayed there for an hour and a half. It
Wow.
was awesome. And he was just down to earth, a nice guy. He never swore once, which I was so worried about the whole time.
Right.
Because I mean, you watch him in a concert, it's a bleeping, 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 hey, bleeping, bleeping.
I think
You know,
I
what a
know.
nice guy.
Yeah, I know the difference being on stage, what you can get away with, and what you can get away with on a radio
So,
or TV.
so here's the deal. They had come to town. There was supposed to be an Ozzy concert. Tickets almost went on sale. People were ready to go buy them, and then it just got canceled. And it was 6 or 7 months earlier. And instead of coming to play No More Tears, they used the studio that week to rehearse their concert and then kicked off the tour at the next city, wherever it was. So we never actually got the Ozzy concert, but he was in town, and he just wanted us to know how thankful he was that everybody was so gracious to him.
Oh,
And
cool.
what a down to earth guy too. At the end of it, thousands of people on the phone, hundreds of people calling. You
Oh,
know it's live radio.
yeah.
And we walk out front, and I look out front, and there's probably 40 or 50, 70 people out front. And it's the
Wow.
middle of the night, and we're up there in the South Hill in the middle of the darkness.
Yeah,
I'm
I
like, Ozzy, sure you don't
Wow.
want me to call cops, get security, somebody to help you get out to the car? He's like, no, I'll take care of this. And he walked out feebly, and he just sat one at a time. He signed everybody's autograph,
Really?
everybody's thing for the
Wow.
autograph.
That's nice. That's
And he did that, and then they just got in the car and left, and
wow.
that's like the best Aussie interview ever.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, that's crazy. I wouldn't. I've met a lot of different celebrities also, and I don't know if I would have expected that out of Ozzy, but that's a great that. Yeah, that's cool.
You never knew what to expect, and the best interviews are the ones that you're not expecting. I mean, I interviewed Chris Novoselic from Nirvana back when they were playing their last show at the Spokane Arena, and he didn't even want to talk about the band. He just wanted to talk about politics. He wanted to become the mayor, right?
Huh.
He was running for something, and he wanted
Huh.
to give me his whole platform speech. And
Oh, okay. Yeah.
so we did that. And there's always been something going on. Quiet Ride came by and they wanted to play a song for us, but they didn't have a tambourine player. So I'm like, hey, I got drums. So I got to play tambo with Quiet Riot.
Really? I
The
didn't know
little
that.
perks, the little benefits of the job. But
Nice.
there's a lot of downside too. And that's, I mean, because I was
Give us
working
some
in
examples.
Providence. Yeah, the first job was down in Providence, Rhode Island. Like I said, this little transmitter shack in the middle of nowhere. And there happened to be during a time when there was a shooter on the loose, a sniper, the
No.
Smithville sniper.
Whoa.
It was in the same town the transmitter shack was. And it was, I don't know if he was shooting people or things or what, but one night when I finished up at midnight, it was pitch dark out. I walked out of this little shack in the middle of nowhere, Smithville, Rhode Island, and there on the front door that I just came out of, someone had drawn a target on it.
Whoa.
Yeah. And like 2 nights later, I was working in the middle of the night, and there's 6 antennas out back. That's it. There's nothing else around. We're on top of a hill, and I hear this. I'm like, who could be knocking at this time of night? So I went out, checked the door, which is only around the corner, and I opened it up, and there's nobody there.
Yeah.
I know. And so I go back to work. I start working a little more. I'm doing another break. I forget what it was. I don't know. I can't remember those days. And then I hear this again. I'm like, what the hell? So I enter the front door, nothing but darkness. I'm like, this is getting a little weird here, guys. So I think I remember calling the cops that night to have them come check on the building security because I was a little freaked out about the target on the door and then the knocking with nobody there.
Yep.
And they came to the door about a half hour later, and all I could see was a flashlight. And they're like, "Do you know this guy?" And they point over, and there's my coworker Rico. And they're like, "He's up on the roof, kicking the door with his foot
Ah.
from above."
Did you say no at that point? Take him
I'm
away?
like, yeah, no. I'm like, he needs to come in here and do his show. It's midnight. I got to go home. So I got to
Wow.
drive 40 miles. So that job paid $90 a week.
Whoa.
So I drove 50 miles to make $90 a week.
Huh.
So that was like the beginning in radio. And that's what we got to get used to is just not making anything and somehow making ends meet. I mean, I had a strict regimen of a frozen pizza and an apple for dinner on those days.
So
You know,
what did you do to supplement your income, just so people know some of the stuff that you had to deal with? What you work, other jobs you worked at
Sure.
to live?
Absolutely. I mean, even before radio, I was doing pizza cooking and delivering parts. I drove 1,000,000 miles in a parts truck around Boston, 250 miles a day for 5 days a week,
Wow.
5 years. Bunch of odd jobs, clean up, did some cleanup stuff. I learned how to do floors really good. Learned how to run a buffer. You just do whatever you can, and there's good jobs out there that actually you can learn teamwork and things that you didn't know you needed in your
I
career.
agree. You just don't have
But
to-
but the sacrifice of living your dream is probably many of those nights of eating apples and frozen pizzas and kind of just putting those pennies away till you need them. And I mean, even now, we're not living in a really nice house or anything. It's good for us. It's got 4 walls, but the mortgage is somewhat less than the rent these days in
Yeah,
Montana.
that's the way things. Yeah,
So we can talk
you're
about
doing good.
that if you
That's a
want.
nice home you have there, by the way.
Oh, thanks. We actually enjoy the view. It's nice to be able to go out and just unplug from everything in Montana. And we used to come here as a vacation a long time ago. I didn't know I'd be living here one day or working here.
Right.
But one of my bosses at Rock 94 and a half, Barry, was a really good friend of mine, and we kept in touch through many, many years. We used to come out and visit him here most every summer. And
Hi, Barry.
he worked at this station that I'm working for now. And then about a couple of years after I left Rock 94 and a half, Barry died.
Oh,
And I went to the funeral, and while I was there, and this is one of those things that I think we should talk about, is I bumped into all the people that I work with now at the funeral, and I already knew them because of networking. And
right.
from
Right.
gaining as much experience in as many places as possible, these guys knew who I was, and they knew, and they're like, "Wow, you're probably the only one that could do Barry's job," or something to that effect.
Right.
You would fit right in here, and I'm like, I would do anything to get my friend back, but
Yeah.
but I can do this job if you need me to. And the numbers were reached, and I mean,
Here you are
everything's
still.
great. It's great for me because I've spent most of my career going down.
Ah.
I started in the majors at Boston. And
Right.
ever since I've been going, okay, that was market number 5 or 12 at the time, and Providence was number 12, I think. And then I went to Spokane, which was market 101, and Coeur d'Alene, which was market 225, or Lewiston, Idaho, which is 354. And now here I am in Kalispell, which I don't even know what the number is. And there's been a reason for that, because I've learned that working for big corporate radio really doesn't pay off. And
That's like
there's
corporate jobs.
there's not as many opportunities. Once you get in the job, you're kind of locked into that position, and it's corporate speak. And if you go out of line, you're going to be in trouble. So for me to do the job that I am good at, and for I know what I'm doing, I had to search a smaller market. And mom and pops are the way to go right now if you want to be a personality in radio, I would say, because there's no agenda. You're just having good live and local entertainment, and hopefully getting the community involved, and what's the word I'm looking for? Compelled to take part in your radio station.
There you go.
So you're saying you don't get huge paychecks, but
Right.
you get other benefits. I mean, besides
Hey,
being
wait.
Aussie,
Yeah,
you
Used to, yeah.
401k and medical and all those types of benefits.
Oh yeah, you get medical, all right. Here's a Band-Aid. Here you go. Yeah. Yeah. No, there's no benefits in radio. You're just you're working holidays and nights. Even to this day, I'm up now doing 3 radio stations. Okay, here's a good example. I've got a piece of paper here. You guys go ahead and talk for a minute.
It's all right. There I was.
Are you naked?
Jumper Kales.
I wanted to take Christmas off. So to do that, okay, let's see if I can see this here. All right. Here's Christmas, the big X in the middle.
Okay. There's a
These
big
are the
X in the middle.
shows. These are the other shows I had to do to get there. So one for each station, one for each day, plus weathers on KJJR. So or KSAM. Anyway, so I made this little checklist. So on Tuesday I start doing these shows and hoping to get up to here before Christmas. So you're always thinking ahead. You're recording shows like not the weather, because you don't want to seem like, hey, it's sunny out and there's 14 feet of snow on the ground. But you can get away with some stuff. So that's the only way to do it, to get that many shows in just 2 days.
That's not. I know what you do and how you. I understand what you had to do to get there, but just look. That didn't make sense to me at all. Does it make sense to you?
So
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, I just
so I had to do 3 or 4 shows a day, kind of like the way they do Jeopardy, where they'll have you come into
Yes.
town. You don't drive into Los Angeles every night to be a Jeopardy contestant. They fly you in once a week and you do 5 games.
what?
And then
We try that
in
with
the,
parters.
in the middle of the thing, maybe they have you go change your clothes so it looks like a different day. See,
I don't-
now look, it's a different day. See,
What are you trying to say? This is our two-parter. What are you doing? I don't understand what
you
you're trying-
forgot to take the vest off.
I know it's a different vest.
That's all right. A different vest. How very Vanna White of you. So I can do 3 or 4 shows a day, but really my voice can't do more than that. Plus all the weather forecast and the sports and ski reports and all that stuff. So
Now, I'm not joking. This actually, how much time are you on a microphone for that? When you say that's as much as your voice can really take, I want to know that information. I'm not saying that.
well, most are like song intros, so those are easy.
You're
But-
right.
But once an hour is a weather break, so it's going to be 30 seconds plus a sponsor, 15-second live read.
Okay. So if you
So
did,
we're talking minutes at a time.
yeah.
Plus you got to listen to that little thing in your headphone telling you where you are, the music coming out, so you sound like you're part of the song.
Oh
and
yeah,
then-
yeah. I haven't done
yeah.
that really, so I don't. I wouldn't be comfortable at this point. But yeah, okay.
It takes some getting used to, but
Yeah.
we've been doing it for so long now. Most DJs are pretty well familiar with it. It's all the space bar.
right.
Once you get it set up, anyway.
Right.
But then for editing and all that, you really got to know what you're doing. So you learn about Audition, you learn about whatever it is you use, Audacity, different people, different strokes for different folks.
These are programs.
Learn your editors if you're going to get into radio because you're going to be using them a lot. And now we go down to clients. We do a remote broadcast. Like we just did a telethon for Wings Radio, which raised $40,000 or more for the Flathead area, just for out-of-pocket expenses not normally covered by insurance. And this is a once-a-year thing. So we go down there, we bring our laptops, we do our breaks, we edit them right there, 2 an hour, and then send them up to the station. And they go on all 7 stations. So you always have to know what you're doing with computers now. And that's a main tip for you, for any future broadcasters out there.
There we go. Give you a nugget of information.
Learn your formats, learn how to edit, and make everything nice and loud, 80% or better. A lot of the stuff out there I see is so quiet. Everything's really tiny. Nobody looks at the meters.
It's sad when I've actually listened to somebody do something, record either video or there's something I'm referencing in particular, but I had to point out to the gentleman after he'd put it out, sold it, and I go, what's the jumping on these levels? Because what? Yeah, from the music.
Normalize.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So moving on.
Yeah, we got a few more questions for you, and I know it varies, but what's a typical day for you these days? Like,
Yeah.
what time do you start? What do your task basically?
Okay.
Et cetera. And is there a particular dislike that comes to mind? And is there a particular something you really enjoy that's part of this also?
Well, I try to have a little bit of fun with everything I do, or else I wouldn't be doing it. And I say that to myself early on, but it's true. If I can't have
Yes.
fun doing the job, but it's nice I can't make funnies every day. I wish I could, but I can't make myself laugh every day. But when I do make myself laugh, that makes it all worthwhile. But the first thing that happens in the morning for me is because I'm a weather guy and a DJ, I got to check the forecast. So I get down here and I do all my observations. I actually am a weather spotter for the National Weather Service too. So I got to make a report before I can check the other reports. So I do all my weather reporting stuff and get the snow totals and all that. Make a forecast I'm going to use for the day. The next step is to take that into the station and then record the AMs for that. So that'll be midday weather. So I do that before I even crack the mic on my morning show, which has been previously, parts of it I've done here the night before. So this is where it gets kind of complex. So I've done part of my morning show here. That way I can I have to do the ski report every morning and the avalanche report, which is with the Avalanche Center. And there's one more thing in there. Oh, the weather's for the AM, which I just told you about. So I do those for the first hour.
Skiing and avalanche, you don't worry about that during the summer typically, right?
No, the ski reports, the avalanche reports go away. There is a road and trail report, however, so
Okay,
we'll do that
okay,
instead.
you got
They're
good.
both it depends whatever they've sold.
You get,
I mean,
okay,
it's
you
just
got
like
me.
you're talking
I
about.
wasn't even thinking of that. I was being
You were
smart.
talking about WKRP in Cincinnati before our last segment, and we've got a Herb Tarlick. He's out there. I mean, one day I'm playing the avalanche report because somebody died the week before, and I was telling people just don't go into the freaking
Right,
snow. It's
right.
dangerous right now. And the salesman calls like, "Hey, is that sponsored?" I'm like, "No, I'm trying to save some lives here." "Oh, I'm pretty sure I get it on the deal. Let's get a sponsor on that and do it every morning." I'm like, "It's not going to sound good when there's nothing going on." "Oh, it's okay. It'll still be money." So it's just like WKRP in Cincinnati. So I'm like, "Thank you, Herb." And oh my God.
So after that, you do that. So
So that's the first part. I didn't even crack the mic yet. Now I'm like, okay, now let's check. Now let's check the morning show. So now I got a show to do. So now the ski reports are in for all 7 stations and the traffic report or whatever it is. So all that stuff's in there. Now I can start doing my show. So I go through the breaks I've done to make sure they're good, and then I put down the live weathers and the stuff that makes me seem like I'm really there in the morning. So now I'm doing my show, and then I'm thinking ahead because I got to start doing the night show because I'm not going to be there from 7 to midnight, even though I do a night show every night as Dr. Buzz.
right.
So I got to do Dr. Buzz in the morning
Dr.
before
Buzz.
the Dr. Buzz. Got to do that in the morning before everybody gets in there. It gets real busy in the day. So I do all those things. I do 2 different shows plus those other things I told you about. And then people start showing up at the office. It's 9 o'clock. So you could have a client come in or somebody with a question or a phone call from a salesperson asking why you didn't read the right copy on that weather break. All these different things start to happen and it gets crazy. And that'll be the middle part of the day. Then there's administrative things like reporting the nationals, reporting our music to the national trade publications, and
Right.
I compile an entertainment report that runs every day on one station, which bands are playing where that night, and that's sponsored. So there's a ton of stuff that gets done every day on a regular basis, and I try to leave the office around 10 o'clock in the morning. I come back here, start the whole process over again, do anything I need to do, like the river guide, which is the entertainment report, or fill in some weathers. If one of the ones that I did from the morning doesn't look like it's going to be that close to real, then I'll probably touch it up in here.
Right. Update it.
And we do other stuff too. I do commercials for monster trucks, and I've done some video production in here for Washington Pilots Association and a couple other clients. So there's always something going on, and I'm pretty much busy the whole day.
Sounds
I
like
look I look forward to Tuesdays because it's a normal day. I just go in there and do my show, and then come back here. I don't have to do a bunch of extra stuff like on Mondays.
Oh.
And everybody wants things on Friday and Monday in the business. So Tuesdays are nice, and Thursdays can be okay.
What about Wednesday?
Wednesday can go either way.
Okay. So what stands out as one of your most enjoyable of your day right now?
That's a good question.
What stands out, like whatever is it?
Yeah.
Getting the weather report going, or is it saving people's lives, or is it do you get calls when you're on the air?
Yeah, it's a good question. Because I do a lot of my show pre-tape, I don't get a chance to work with the phones a lot.
Right.
It's not like those days, and I really kind of miss those days.
Yep.
Try to have fun and be smooth and just be entertaining. I think if I get good feedback on Facebook or if I get a call or something, somebody said, "I heard that break," or
Mhm.
or somebody will say something you mentioned on the air. It's always a good feeling,
Sure.
Or if you pull up to the drive-through and they're like, "Hey, I know that voice." I'm like, "No, you don't. You just think you do."
I'm not the guy.
Yeah. That's kind of wacky. Times have really changed though, because back when I started, radio DJs were stars. I mean,
Oh yeah.
rock stars, radio stars,
Yep.
and now I'd say we're more like a part of the family and one of your friends that you bump into on the street from time to time. We're a lot more accessible because of internet and Facebook and social media. I think people get a lot more of a look into our lives, and we're a lot less of a disassociated voice on the radio. Ooh, what does that guy look like? He
Right.
sounds. I always get the same thing. I figured you'd be a lot fatter in real life.
Did you get
Yeah.
that one too?
Yeah. I figured you'd be a lot larger in real life, you know. I'm like, well, I'm not Sully small. I did a little research, you know. I was like, I feel like Ronnie James Dio was short, but 5'4" is not really that short. That's my wife's height. However, Angus is 5'2",
Yeah, he's
Hmm.
yeah,
I didn't realize he was
yeah,
that
yeah,
short.
he is that small.
and
So go ahead.
and Tommy Shaw, my wife says, yeah, there's no way Tommy Shaw is 5'6" because we stood next to him, and those were lifters, man. That was lifting.
So
Yeah.
talking about general public and how things have changed in the what would you say is the biggest misconception the general public has of radio personalities or what you do for a career?
Well, that's a great question.
I know it
That's
was.
a good
That's why I
question.
asked it.
It was good. Well, there's always I always think about that meme. I always think about that meme. You know, the one that shows radio DJs what my mom thinks I do,
Mm.
and she pictures you kind of with the dark sunglasses on and the smoke coming up from the microphone, and you're just like, hey, coming up next, another great hit. She just pictures me being a hippie DJ still from the '60s, I think. And then there's your boss, and he kind of pictures you in there, kind of like with a bullhorn and probably some groupie chick's legs in the back or something, you know, doing anything but working. He thinks you're in there just dorking off.
Having a good time.
Yeah. And then there's the engineer who thinks that you're just breaking stuff. That's the only reason why you're there. It's just to break stuff and see how many different ways you can break things. Um, so it's the perception is always different than the reality.
Right. That's
Well,
what,
most of the time, I'm recording commercials and putting them in the system and typing out labels in the computer and answering phones and recording conversations and trying to get people to show up on time that are doing commercials or whatever.
egotistical rock star then? Radio personality? Is that what you're trying to say? You're not?
Yeah. Those days have kind of gone.
Oh, were you egotistical rock star radio personality back in the years ago? I never perceived it that way, but
I worked with some.
I'm not saying I'm asking about you.
I worked with a lot of them, but I never considered myself that caliber. I'm like, I'll never be that good. Like some of those guys out there with three names usually, Dick Van Dyke, Dick Van Dorn, whatever his name was, so Scotty Van, whatever.
Oh yeah, that's
Everybody,
okay.
not you know what I'm saying. Anyway,
Okay. Yeah,
those
no,
guys,
you
I don't know.
no,
You
you're
know,
very. I got a lot. I never heard anything bad about you. I tried to talk crap, but no,
there's
you're always good.
you know, there's two different types of radio DJ really anymore, and there's the announcer guy. Hi, I'm the big announcer guy. I'll be doing
Right.
all the voice work, and you'll be underneath me. You'll be guy B for the rest of your career. And then there's the personality guy. I'm just being me, and I'm just having fun, and hopefully you are too. And if I can get you out the door with a smile on your face,
Mhm.
bonus. So, and the personality guy unfortunately doesn't have the deep resonant voice, so he doesn't get a lot of the work usually. But they're the ones that people remember.
Yep.
So it kind of sticks out and identifies the station in a unique way that you can pick out right out of the dial. I mean, you don't even have to look over at the numbers to know when I'm on the radio.
Yep. You
You're
recognize.
just gonna find it.
Yep. You recognize it.
So yeah, so it's like that. I mean, Ron Howard or Dan Bonaducci, they have great shows, great personality-driven segments, but they don't have DJ voices.
No.
So it's not always that Scott Golden pipes. Although I wish I had them, but I just learned from a different set of people. I mean, when I grew up in Boston, the number one DJ there at the time in the morning was a guy named Charles Laquadera, and he was just a whiny, loud, bodacious kind of guy who had so much fun on the air, and they never told him to lose his accent. So, you know, he would have people cut up their credit cards if he was having one of those days. He launched a whole campaign against Exxon once.
Wow.
I mean, the guy was just nuts. Then he had an alter ego by the name of Dwayne Ingalls Glasscock, the clone. And Dwayne Ingalls Glasscock would come in on Saturdays and take over Charles's show just so he could have girly watch. So only girlies could call in. And then it was just a funnier heck show. And sometimes he'd steal an airplane and go fly over Boston. I'm like, I want to do that. So I took my home studio and I put the airplane sound effect behind me every time I did a break. And that's actually the tape that I used to get the job at Rock 94 or Rock 106 was this one where I was flying around with a tape that I made of me pretending to be over the skyline of Boston, mixed in with some real actual reports. I did a traffic report, and then I did a DJ break on WAAF, which was a super cool rock station where you had to be serious all the time, but they made it sound so good. And then there was another break on there from this other station I worked for, Worcester's weather station, with the 4-day forecast on the hour. So all these things were part of my demo package. But to get from point A to point B, I was doing a live broadcast from a billboard high atop the Hertz rental car agency in downtown Boston, right next to Logan Airport, where it's so close I could see the passengers coming through the window as they come down the landing. And here comes one. Oh, wow. Oh, my gosh, that plane was so close. I swear I could just reach out and touch the other guy. And at the end of the demo tape, when I reached the third segment, the plane hits the billboard and everything explodes, and that's the end of the tape.
And they gave you the job anyway.
That was theater of the mind.
Yes,
Plus, yeah, no, you're right. You're absolutely right. And but that's what they were looking for. I mean, it was something that stuck out and stuck with you.
right.
So
No,
always
that's
gotta,
you have a creative side to you.
yeah, they knew early on this guy's gonna be creative or else we're all in trouble around here.
Crazy or
That place
creative.
was so wacky, though. I mean, you should tell them about it. There was a bomb shelter in this building. I mean, one guy did a show from down there. I forget what his name was, but Rick. And he would go down in the bomb shelter, and you didn't want to go down there for 4 hours because he was holed up like some little cabin in Montana. I mean, the things he was saying.
Mm.
But I was thinking someday he'd go down there and come back up, and the rest of the world would be gone. He would still be thinking he was on the air because he was in the bomb shelter. It's like a
Mhm.
Twilight Zone episode where the rest of the world goes away.
Mhm.
And there's Rick walking up with his. And he drank a lot of energy drinks and ate those little coffee cakes from the rest stop. So, but anyway, remember that hallway down the bottom to the bomb shelter?
I don't know. I do not. I was never blessed to have that experience that I remember.
You don't remember the KEZ building? Well, there was this concrete stairway down on the bottom.
I
And
never
then-
went down there. I do remember the building. I drive by it still. I know
I
stories.
can remember this. I can remember the smell of the moss from that room down there.
You worked
Anyway.
there. I only visited there.
Because I mean, the reason why they had a bomb shelter was because we were near the survival school, right? The Air Force Base. That's what I figured.
Was that
So it was-
okay?
So anyway, but
I lived on the base. I wasn't worried about the bomb shelter, but anyway, I get
yeah.
it.
So well, I don't know. It was just a wacky, wacky place. So much history in that building, man. I'll never forget it. And then where do we go from here?
We had a couple more questions and we're almost done
Okay.
with it, pal.
All right.
Almost done.
So the big question everyone's dying to know.
I want to know. You guys want to know?
What did you want to be as a kid?
Oh yeah,
You want to be a cowboy or an astronaut or what?
yeah, cowboy. Yeah, and an astronaut, a cowboy astronaut. Yeah. Look, hey, look at the shirt I'm wearing. Space
Ah,
Force.
There you go.
And look at these boots. Hey, hey,
It's like we planned that, or nah, we know.
cowboy astronaut.
Wow.
Well, my biggest hero was, in fact, you ready for this? Neil Armstrong.
Really?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Did they really go to the moon? Or if they really did go to the moon, were there aliens up there? Do you know this?
We can save it for another subject.
Okay, thank you. I didn't want to.
Start a whole new
There's-
Service.
a-
series.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so
You ever get
I
to
want
meet?
to be I want to be Neil Armstrong. I want to be a spaceman. I want to be a pilot. I want to be a pilot for the most time, but I wound up flying airplanes at the age of 12. So kind of got that out of the system early on. Did gliders first, learned about weather that way, because weather actually happens up there.
Right.
Only the stuff on the ground is what you see on the map, and that kind of is a sore spot with me because a lot of it happens up there. So sailplanes, then I started flying power planes because my sailplane instructor said, I want you to learn how to fly gliders, because that way, if anything bad ever happens to your airplane, you'll know what you're doing because it's just a normal landing for you. So I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. So I learned gliders. And then I went back to power planes. And then I was flying them as a little kid up there behind DC-9s and stuff. I'm like, oh my God. And so airplane pilot, DJ. I knew I had to be a DJ because I was already doing the fake skits down in the basement. I had my friends come over where we thought we were Saturday Night Live. Some nights we did fake commercials. We had, yeah, we just had a great time together. And I was always bringing friends over to record and then turning those into commercials and then doing the radio station thing in the basement, pretending I was on the air all the time. I guess I knew what I had to do because I couldn't be an airline pilot. I did have my broadcast license. One of my FCC licenses up here on the wall is from 1984. That's for third class unrestricted. And back then you had to take a test to be on the radio. You actually had to have a license. Now you don't need one. The radio station does, but the
Right.
operator does not. So I know about how to run a radio station too, and I'm endorsed for it with a broadcast endorsement. I took that at the first year I could. I think I was 16 years old. I think I'll have to do the math on that one. But anyway, I took the test. I scored a 94%. She said, "Wow, that's very good." And I said, "Yeah, but I could do better. Can I come back and do it again?" And she said, "What are you, crazy? If you fail the test, you'll lose your license." And I said, "I don't care. I know I can do better." And I got a 98. So yeah, did the same thing with my flight test too. I didn't go back. I got a 98 on the first one. So I go over and above whenever something like that comes around. And anyway, so I was going to be
What'd you want to be when you were a kid?
a pilot or a DJ
Or an astronaut or a
or a
cowboy?
weatherman. And now look, I'm all those things.
No. You are on is my terminology. When I have to be on, is like I'm on stage or you're on right now. You know that, right?
You just have to go do it. You just have to do what you're gonna do.
You weren't
and
as
find out-
lively if we gave away what when we talked a week ago. Examples. You were. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying you were just on, and yeah, it's a good thing.
So is there anything else you want to tell or share with us that you think our listeners should know?
Or we might need to know.
Well, being your dream is really easy as long as you stick with it and get ready to suffer, because there's going to be a lot of suffering. You know, you got to pay the dues. Dude, like my instructor said in broadcast school, just gain as much experience in as many places as you possibly can, and don't burn any bridges, because you'll meet those people again later on in the career, and you don't know where they're going to take you. And a lot of it is just not saying no to things and just saying yes, being there when they want you to be there, working the holidays and the weekends, because you never know when somebody's not going to show up, and then you're going to be the guy.
Isn't it? No, I got to ask a question though, because it's changed so much where DJs aren't. Not the opportunities aren't there as much. Not the demand for actual people
who run the computers are in need,
Okay.
and people who run the studios and know how to program computers and can manage all these different machines.
Yeah.
So it's more of a technology based than personality based, whereas the personality types, there'll be one in each market that will be farmed out across the country unless you work for a smaller mom and pop station.
Right. Okay. I'm just clarifying that for our listeners as well.
Yeah.
Because I know things have changed since back then.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the days of the DJ coming in and kicking back and waiting for a nice long song so we go out for a smoke, those are long gone, because you're just recording your voice breaks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then moving on to the next project and client or wherever you got to be.
Or situation or weather or news or
or accident traffic reports, etc.
Yeah, or avalanche.
Avalanche,
fire danger, you name it, we're on it. A lot of being successful is just being spontaneous and being live and local and having fun and trying to have fun while you're doing it. Don't worry about trying to sound good. I never did that. I was too busy trying to have fun.
Well, yeah. You know, I was the guy on the microphone between songs, and that's what I usually did. So I would say a lot of crap. I don't know what I was saying, but I was just
you were good. You were good at it on stage. It's tough.
You know, you just have fun. I never thought I'd be. That's coming to this point. One reason we're doing this, I never thought I'd be. I realized I was an entertainer, not just a drummer. So
you had to do it from behind your drum set up there too, which is hard. Live.
It used to be, I guess. I've done it for so long that, yeah, it's just I'm comfortable. And then years ago, doing some of the other stuff I do, when I get crazy dressed up for the situation where I get to be the one that talks on the news or whatever, and when you get a camera or the band stuff, and you're being interviewed by local media. and I don't get nervous anymore where I used to. It's like, yeah, whatever. Camera's on, yeah, whatever. Yeah, we've done it so much.
Well, I'm very honored that you guys have asked me to hook up with you tonight because I'm not really actually a good TV person. So I enjoy being on the radio, behind the microphone, but very rarely will you see my face unless you come out to meet me.
I greatly
So
appreciate you giving your time and sharing that with it and with our listeners.
Definitely.
yeah,
We're about, we will check back in with you. We're starting to do update videos with our former guests, so we can see we've been doing this about 2 years. So
awesome.
we will get back to you. Obviously, probably you and I will chat between now and whenever, but I
Okay.
really appreciate it. Getting to talk to you again after years ago.
Yeah, and you should really come over here and spend a little vacation time. It's nice.
The woman will, but yeah, she'll be more than glad to get the heck out of town. So I might have
Do
to hit
it.
her up, come over and visit.
You never know what it might lead to.
You don't. Things happen. It always, not a bad thing either.
Used to come here for vacations.
And
Wound
here
up
you are.
loving the place so much we live here now.
That's right.
Yeah.
Any parting words, Ryan? Any questions for
No,
Geoff?
I'm good.
Hey man, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you for your liveliness. I think the only one that can compare was a really good friend of mine that Joe was. Yeah. There's one of our guests just recently, and yeah, he was on fire that day. I just shut up. So greatly appreciate it. Thank you for all your information. Thank you for the background and all your knowledge. You know so much, and I'm not being sarcastic at all. You have experienced so much doing what you do and going and everything. It just thank you for sharing. We appreciate it.
Oh, no problem at all. I'm glad somebody asked because normally it's a thankless job.
Well, you're thanked. I appreciate it. That's one reason I've finally had you on. It's I think
Cool.
to a while.
You asked what some of the good times were, and I'll just lay it out with this.
Sure.
Like watching the town come together for the Wings Radiothon. I mean, I think it was $44,000 this year.
That's cool.
In 2 days, 48 hours, and we're just sitting in a sporting goods store watching people come by, and 8,800 people tried to take a raffle chance at a rifle. I mean, before that was Toys for Tots, and that was over $100,000 this year.
Wow.
So you crack the mic and you say words, and you think they don't mean anything at the time. You're just trying to have fun. But
Right.
people are out there listening, and you're a part of their lives, and it's like a member of the family. And it's not just a community, but we kind of hate to say this because it's so cliche since the pandemic, but we are all in this together.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about that part. I'm just
Right.
talking
And,
about
people in general, life in general. I get
and
it.
they say things to you like they were just there with you, and you can't remember because you said it an hour ago. You
Right.
know?
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's a great feeling. I wish everybody could do it. And I know because of podcasts, a lot of people are getting their chance now, and this might be the way to do it.
For some people,
You get a lot of people on your stream, and the next thing you know, maybe some company's like, "Hey, wait a minute, you'll have Herb Tarlick on the phone. I can sponsor that. You guys, fancy cars, cigars."
Geoff, if I can share with you, after doing the band stuff, doing the crazy character stuff that I do and now kind of doing this, I've been fortunate to have had compliments or then how I've affected people's lives. And it was never, I was just trying to do and have fun, do what I do. So
Cool.
very, very fortunate. So
That's all you can do, man.
yeah, do the best you can do, make it happen. All right, Geoff, I'm tired of talking to you.
Shout out to the family. Here you go.
See, I thought you just finally got tired of us and left.
He's out of here. Wow.
I'll see you. Bye.
See you, man. Hey, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Subscribe, like,
Leave a review.
leave a review, a comment, say we sucked. Ryan rocks, Geoff rocked tonight. And there you go. It's
Like,
your
I gotta
life.
get on the air.
Yeah.
He's like, we're done.
I got work to do, guys.
It's your life. Make it happen. See you guys. See you, Geoff.
You rock.
Take 24. La 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 la.
Green Hay.